All right, 6 o'clock. I will call to order Town of Paw Council meeting for May 14th, 2018. Number 2 on the agenda is the adoption of that agenda. Yes.
If I may add, there is one agenda item that came up today that was an emergency that we've added on to, if I could ask permission, as 9.2.
I understood that. I saw it. Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Zielinski. Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as amended. And the amendment is item, as the CAO just pointed out, item 9.2, which was the purchase of a clear tank of some sort. Diesel tank, I believe it was.
Yeah. All right. Any other amendments? Okay, we'll vote on the agenda as adopted. All those in favor? We are carried. All right, let me go back up to the top. Item number 3 is confirmation of minutes.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Zielinski. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting and the committee of the whole of April 23rd, 2018 be hereby approved, all statutory declarations having been complied with.
Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? They are carried. Item number 4, citizens period. 4.1 is the Northern Gateway Community Chaplaincy. Barry Hopper.
Somebody start the timer. Start the timer. This won't take long. Actually, I like the view from here. Good evening. I'm representing the chaplaincy, community chaplaincy program, which I've done for the last 18 years. Usually I'm the one that goes to try and get money from our partners, which the Town of the Pas has been for the last 18 years, and we'd like to thank you very much for that. The funding this year, we received your letter that you, because of economic climate, you weren't allowed or you weren't able to provide us with the $20,000. It's put the program probably in jeopardy of losing it. The arm of Kelsey actually boosted their funding from, I think, 10,000 to 15,000 for this year. One might say that this is not an RM problem, although they do cross and might say that. But for the most part, it's a town issue, and we're talking about the people on the street and how they are treated. Nationally, the PA is recognized through the Good Deeds Cup as a caring community. Members of council and the public were tripping over themselves to get photo ops with TSN, how well we're doing and how we help the homeless. It was more to deal with the homeless shelter, not necessarily the chaplaincy program. The same clientele. We have, over last year, 2017, there was approximately $15,000 that was given to the community from community members. We received in excess of, I think, $4,000 from people in Edmonton, Alberta. And we're having outside people help us with our problem. It kind of flies in the face of being a caring community. I was hoping that the town would continue to some amount with the program with us, as being one of our major partners, as I mentioned before, has been with us for 18 years. We're in a case now that we may have to cancel, likely have to cancel the program, lay off the chaplain, and return funding to who we can return it to. Questions have been asked in the past, why don't we go with the homeless shelter and work out of that? As I mentioned, same clientele, 2 different programs. One of the things we did look at was the soup kitchen, which last year served over, I'm going to say, 10,000 meals to people in need. And that's not just the individuals you may see walking around on the street that everybody's complaining about. It's women and children, people of low incomes, people that maybe fall short. Their rent might be too high. They don't have enough food for groceries. They do the hamper programs. The needy people get it. So there's over 10,000 meals served there. The Living Waters Church donates approximately $200 a month towards a chaplain to look after the kitchen. The kitchen is supported solely on donations from the community, Grub Box being a big one, and IGA, the new store across there. Plus, people bring in goods and food, clothing. We had over, I think there was 500 requests for assistance in clothing. We offer, like, we gave you all this information, and I heard a few times that, well, they didn't get the request from the chaplain, so I'm hoping that the issue is economic, and it's not that you thought you didn't get the pamphlets that I dropped off and all the backup information we've given you the last 18 years. That was dropped off at the main office, and for some reason or other was misplaced. And the offer with every year when we ask for funding is I will come and explain it, go over it with you, and answer your questions. I was hoping that maybe you would be able to find somewhere close to the $20,000. Looking from the outside and not knowing for sure, but I'm thinking you have a few vacancies. One in particular, the bylaw officer. Great fanfare when that started. You bought a new truck, you bought uniforms, you hired Tracy Bannon. Your worship and the councillor were quoted in the paper. This is going to help address the issues on the street with the street people, back to our clients that the chaplain is looking after. So I think that job is still vacant, so I was hoping there might be some a little bit of money freed up there. The deputy fire chief, I don't know if you're still budgeting for that, that's vacant. The full-time fire chief, that's vacant. You have somebody acting, I know, but there's still probably not the funds that you'd be paying for full-time. There's, since I was sitting in that seat, there's additional monies that have been brought in. There's grant monies. You have the hotel tax. Put it back out on the street. We're talking a small amount. I don't know the actual numbers that you get in the hotel tax, but I'm sure it's well over $100,000. You have hydro money you're getting now, by Pole 3 I think it was. That's new money. It's not taxpayers' money, but it's treated as taxpayers' money as it should be. You have notice coming on the door. There's a big sticker there. The hydro energy. So you probably have done some refits. I don't know if you've done refits on all the street lights in town. There's got to be some savings there, and those are ongoing. I would think one of those would offset it. So what I'm asking for is just if you can reconsider to some extent. Maybe you can't give the 20. Maybe you can match what the RM has. I know you haven't finalized your budget, but you still haven't tabled it publicly. And if you can find funds in there to go forward with this, it would be appreciated. It is a good program. If you haven't gone through all the literature that we gave you back in January, just the we have individuals in town that have given up personally $1,000. That's part of that $15,000 in additional funding that we have. As I mentioned last year, there was over 10,000 meals served in the kitchen, which the chaplain runs now. There was clothing requests, nearly 800 clothing requests. There was hampers, over 50. The chaplain, we haven't saved a lot of people. They're still doing what they're doing. In fact, this year, it seems to be there's more people on the street, there's younger people on the street. The whole idea with the chaplain is to intervention to try and get them off the street, back home, wherever their home happens to be. The chaplain goes to the local jail to visit them. They have referred people to the Rosaire House. They walk them through that. She meets with them when they get out, tries to keep them straight and center. And again, it goes down to an addictions problem. We have asked, when I was the mayor, we have asked Manitoba Lotteries, we have asked Manitoba Liquor Board. They are part of the problem, a big part of the problem, and they certainly should be part of the solution. So we were hoping that we might get something from them. We didn't have any luck doing that. I don't know if you've done likewise. So that's, my time is probably up. That's my plead, and if anybody has questions, we're happy to entertain them.
Anybody?
Chad has one.
Chad?
Again, I think the program that the chaplaincy runs is a great program. I know the street minister does do a lot of good work with the transient and homeless population within the town of the Pas, and really it's the town's only line of defense at this point. It's the only position within our community that works with some of the most vulnerable people in our community on a day-to-day basis. I, for one, would like to see the program continue on. I can't speak for the rest of council, but yeah, from my point of view, I'd love to see the program continue. So.
Crystal?
So kind of, what's your bottom line to break even? So just kind of looking at the previous years, it was around $30,000 was kind of your budget for the year.
The amount the town has given has varied from $20,000 to $22,000. If you can match what the RM has given us, $15,000, the program will continue. And only because we've received the outside funding from various sources that I mentioned.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat as Chad. I think the chaplaincy is a wonderful program. I know Lorraine, I know the good work that she does in the community, so I too would like to see it continue and hope that we can reconsider.
Thank you. Brian?
I was just going to ask, and you may have made mention of it, but what do you think the result would be if the town doesn't provide a grant?
Well, if we close the program, it may mean, and I can't guarantee this, but it may mean closing the soup kitchen, because we're not going to have the person that's doing that now. Living Waters has graciously offered the space up. We did try and move that into the homeless shelter, but the facility there for the meals, it wouldn't work. So that's a possibility that'll close. But you're going to have, last winter, January, February, there was 3 or 4 calls that chaplain found people either sleeping in a garbage stand and knows the route, knows what they call home, does the circle, finds somebody, and that happened last January, February, and so the police or ambulance is called. That probably wouldn't happen, not saying that somebody's going to perish, but there has been times where that has been the case. So all the things that they're doing that I mentioned, those would cease. And I found in the past, once you stop a program and economic times get better, whereas the town can do the participation 15 or 20, it's hard to get a program going again. We've been fortunate over the last 18 years to have really good people, well-intentioned, and doing fine work as chaplains. And we pay them for 6 hours a day. They work more than 6 hours a day.
Thank you.
What's the difference between the soup kitchen with the chaplaincy and then Oscar's Place? Because where I get confused is we have 2 functioning organizations, and I don't know how they mesh or why they don't mesh.
Well, I guess Oscar's Place, that's housing. They are brought in, they maybe changed some of the rules. They're not allowed to be going in there if they're intoxicated. And they're told in the morning, early in the morning, you have to leave. Now they're trying to change that and be more accommodating to the individuals that stay there. The chaplaincy deals one-on-one with people that are on the street, when they're on the street, or when they're either in the Rosare House or in jail. They know their clients. So we deal with that. The soup kitchen was originally started up by the Living Waters Church in the back of the previous funeral home behind Pasco Times, kitty corner from Murray GM. And it started out very small. Living Waters were running it themselves, Betty Olson and her husband. And it's grown over the years. As I mentioned, last year, like 10,000 meals. And if you go there in the morning, some of the people that are on the street are actually there. They're clearing the tables off. They're doing the dishes. They're well behaved. Lorraine does a super job. Like she's like the principal. If they're doing something wrong, out you go. So basically, the soup kitchen looking after meals, chaplaincy, intervention, and running the soup kitchen. And Oscar's Place is basically housing. You probably know a lot more about the Oscar's Place than I have. I've been kind of back from it a little bit, but the history and everything, I'm glad to see that at least the the building's been turned over, if nothing else.
Because we thought there's two buildings, right? Couldn't it all be in one spot? Like, there's got to be synergies.
Soup
on how they do
kitchen,
this.
soup kitchen wouldn't be functional there. They went over and they actually looked at that and tried to make it functional, and they say it's not big enough. If you go to the soup kitchen and see what they have set up there, it just, unless there's money to, I mean, we're not going to be building on and trying to do it. Like Chad, you're on the Oscar place, you know more of that.
Yeah, it's something that had been explored. I guess as of right now, it's not something that's viable, just based on the requirements of the soup kitchen and that sort of thing. They have a lot of volunteer people that come out, you know, anywhere from 2 to 6 every day, and there just isn't the room in the kitchen at Oscar's place for the soup kitchen to operate out of there. So, you know, there's ways that the shelter and the soup, or the shelter and the chaplaincy can work together, but maybe not necessarily with the soup kitchen at this time. But yeah, there is ways to work together.
And possibly looking down the road, if the Oscar's place is going to be looking for a coordinator or something like that, maybe there's some flexibility there that she could work, do the coordination and chaplaincy, and again, you're dealing with all the people you know, so there might be an opportunity there, but that's not happening right now. Right now, we're up against the wall.
Just one more thing, with Oscar's place, there's two buildings, right? You'd know that. Like, there's a house, and then there's Oscar's place building.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's all played out now. Manitoba Housing has purchased
The entire thing.
I think they've purchased the entire thing, but yeah.
There's actually 3 buildings. There's Oscar's place, there's the standalone building that has the separate rooms, and then there's that house on the corner that was also the Friendship Center owned that they were renting out, but I believe it's become condemned and nobody's been living there for several years.
Okay, anything else, Al? No? Andrew?
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a great program, really. I mean, I'm sure it is. At the end of the day, we just went through the budget, and before we even got to the chaplaincy, there was a list probably of about 20 things that were looking for funding, and we had barely addressed the core with the things that we needed to address. And we go, okay, what do we have to cut now to make these other things go? I mean, the chaplaincy, I mean, I get it, and it's a tough situation. The chaplaincy is staring at no funding from us. They're not the only ones staring at no funding from us. And this is not a case of we can go back and find $15,000. To go back to the table and find $15,000 means that $15,000 has to be cut from somewhere else. And as far as I can tell, based on the budget plan that we developed to this point in time, there isn't a single gram of fat to squeeze from anywhere. So I get it. And it sucks. But the chaplaincy is not the only group that is about to have their funding not just trimmed a little bit. Trimming a little bit has happened for the past 7 years that I've been here, every single year. So Chad, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I got to challenge you. Where do you see the 15 grand coming from? Because for me, to simply say it's a good program, you know, I'd like to see it continue, I think we should try and find a way. It's not enough. We got to go into that room then and find 15 grand. And where's it coming from? There's another resolution on the agenda here tonight for a spray park. It's going to require water. There's no water bill going to be paid. It's going to cost more money, period. It is. It might be 5 grand, it might be $200, it might be $400. It has to come from somewhere. So, man, I respect. I respect the chaplaincy. I respect all of the hard work that these groups do. It's not about respect or disrespect. It just comes down to economics. There's revenues and there's costs. Our revenues hit the floor. I mean, it has hit the floor. And until it recovers, until we do something to stimulate an environment that stimulates economy to bring revenues in, we can't just keep increasing costs. We can't. And so I value the information. It is a tremendous program. I love the presentation. I love to hear you know, such excellent facts and the good work that's going on. But at the end of the day, we've got a pool that doesn't open on Sundays now. We've got a library that doesn't open on weekends now. We've got a museum that's come to us looking for increased budgets because the building requires work, and we're about to say no. We've got potholes. I mean, we've heard nothing but complaints about potholes, and that's because We've had to reduce public works budgets. I mean, not in specific ways, but everywhere we go, we squeeze a little, squeeze a little, squeeze a little, which means service becomes a little less, service becomes a little less. And then I got people talking to me about, Andrew, how come I have to pay $7,000 a year in taxes when I just live in a 3-bedroom bungalow that's 25 years old on a street with potholes? It's no different than anywhere else. And so I value it, but I just don't, and I get it, I just don't know where it's going to come from. The BIPOL money is called for. The Community Economic Enhancement Fund money is called for. It's going to infrastructure. It's going to core infrastructure. If we don't get the lagoon fixed, we're going nowhere. If we don't get the waste disposal ground fixed, we're going nowhere. If we don't do things like the replacement on LaRose, we're going backwards. So to continue to just pretend like, oh, we found $5, let's buy something that will cost us more in the end, it's got to stop. And that's not the chaplaincy when I refer to that instance. But as a mindset, we got to be mindful of what it is that we're committing to. So it troubles me to not be able to fund the chaplaincy. But from where I sit, I don't see how it can happen, period. I just don't see how it can happen. And you're not the only ones that are going to get that response from me tonight. But that's where I sit with this stuff. We're right on the forefront of putting the financial plan out. We tried very hard, as I recall. It's not like we sat there and pretended not to discuss this. So that's where I'm at with it, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear about where I sit in terms of revenues and costs and decisions about our financial plan.
Margaret?
I'm going to agree with Andrew. And it's been hard. It's been a learning experience sitting in this chair for the past almost 4 years. And talking about being the town fiscally challenged, yes, we are. There's been decisions made in the past, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but we're in this predicament now. And I can think of one little one that we said no to was to the music festival, and that was a $60 grant. And we said no. So this is one point where we are challenged. And that's all I have to say.
Anybody else?
Sure. I guess after listening to everyone this evening at council and the comments and whatnot, the question that arose in my mind is, well, where are we going to be after we lose the service? Are we going to be better off or worse off? Because if we're going to have to be dealing with complaints and concerns and issues that are a result of change to save the money or a portion thereof, then we may well need to be prepared to pay somewhere else to compensate for it. The other concern I have that comes to light is it's 100% potentially cut that's being spoken of. It's not, you're asking for a percentage. We need to look at what the impact's going to be, and the opportunity is still in front of us as council, so hopefully we'll take a second look.
I already found you 5,000 by cutting it.
You took the words out of my mouth. Thank you very much for the 5,000. Yeah.
I know I hope you're not counting your time as part of my time when we're speaking. I know we only have 15 minutes. What are the three biggest complaints that you hear as council? I'd wager anybody here, I'd write it down. People on the street. And Margaret's one of the biggest ones that complains about it, and everyone else, I do. What are we going to do about it? So,
not going to get into it.
If you're going to say, if you're looking at where you can save money, I was on council for a number of years. I didn't look at your budget this year yet, but when you travel, when you go to seminars and stuff, instead of sending 3 or 4 to AMM or whatever it's called now, send maybe 1 or 2, and they can do a report when they come back. You're going to save money in travel. My closing comment would be, when you're watching the hockey game tonight and the Jets are winning, and the ad comes on about the Good Deeds Cup, about how caring a community the PAW is and what they've done, try and be part of that formula.
I would just add that you're very passionate about it, and you have been for a very good long time. And the next passionate person then comes in behind you, and behind them, and behind them, and behind them, and behind them. So It's a very difficult decision. I do appreciate you coming out tonight and giving this presentation to us. And it's
Thanks for giving me the opportunity. And again, finally, thank you for the 18 years that you were the steadfast main partner on this program. And hopefully we can salvage it. And I think you do your budget on the 23rd, is it? Or?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so challenge is out there if you're able to find it. I know you're going to get everybody to be knocking on the door, but we're not talking a lot of money and a big budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Who else? Citizens, period. Yes. Just hang on a second. Yeah. No, come on.
I don't know whether I should ask this after what I just heard. No, I'm complaining about a big poplar next door to my yard. And I did go see the town engineer, and he says, no, it's not our problem, it's your problem. So then he suggests I get a hold of Mr. Scott.
Who's he?
Your engineer. So I talked to him, like the engineer, and the poplar's on the main boulevard. It's sitting on the town boulevard. And he told me that the only way they'd remove it is if it's plugging the sewer. But it's coming, the roots are coming towards my basement. And I don't want it to push the basement in. So I'd like the town to come and take it down.
Okay. Can you state your name just for the record?
Martha McDonald.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I don't have an answer. I'd have to go find out more information from the guys upstairs. And
Yeah. Well, he told me, he said that it's not, I'll put some notes down here.
yeah.
The tree's on 312 7th Street, and it's on the boulevard. And he told me that he says it's the responsibility of the property owner, but it's on the boulevard. And I said, well, the property owners, they just bought the place, so why would they be responsible for it if it's on the boulevard? And then they told me, well, if it gets into the town sewer, they'd cut the tree down.
Right.
But if it's pushing my basement in, that's my problem.
So, do you have evidence that it's getting to your basement?
I've been pulling roots out for the last 4 or 5 years out of, and it's this far from the house. And I pull them out and then cut them off. But I'm getting too damn old for that now.
I don't think so. I see you out in your yard every day. I don't think so.
So that's my main concern, that it would, go toward the house, and as the roots get bigger, it's going to push the cinder block, because it's just a cinder block basement.
It is my understanding, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, that the boulevard portion in front of anyone's property is the responsibility of the homeowner, to maintain it, to get snow off it, to have the grass cut, to all that sort of thing. And I don't know if this would change that. Randy, maybe you can help me out with this.
They've spoke to me about it, and we're getting a legal opinion of it right now, because there are a lot of the trees that are on the boulevards weren't planted by the town. They were left there because they were maintained by the people that owned it. So we are getting a legal opinion, because there would be much more than just the one tree involved in this.
Well, there's only the one that we want.
Yeah, no, but if that happens, obviously it's going to be, well, I want my tree too, right? So we just want to see what the legal opinion would be. So I know Sam has already reached out to see where the responsibility would lie.
Yeah, because I told him, I said, if my basement goes in, then it'll be a legal problem, because I'm not going to sit still for it. And why should it be up to me? But yet if it's going in the sewer on the yard, they'll remove it. That's a different story.
Sewer lines are technically part of our responsibility, and it would run the infrastructure for the rest of the community. That's part of the rationale with it. But for sure, he is looking into it. It's not like a dead issue at his table. But that's where we're at, is trying to get a legal opinion as to.
And I can assure you, we will be in contact with you the moment that we know what's going on.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't really want my basement to cave in.
No, you don't.
Because then they'll say, oh, your house is condemned. Then what? No more tax dollars.
Can't have that.
Okay, that's all I want.
Okay, thank you very much. Andre, oh, sorry, Gary?
Whose responsibility would it be if the tree happens to die? To remove it?
I don't know.
Are you suggesting something?
Does it require a strike?
Copper nails work well.
Andre?
Well, thank you for allowing us to say a few things tonight. So that's a tough topic to follow. I hear what Gary and his passion there, and it's, money's always tough to come by. One of the things we're asking for, though, is shouldn't cost you a lot of money. I think that we've been talking about the walking paths, probably at least 15 years that I know about. And, from then to today, there's really hasn't been a lot of changes. We did make a proposal last year, and I believe, or even maybe a year and a half ago now, and there was a plan that a study would be happening on how to deal with it. And we really haven't heard anything from that, but I can tell you guys that nothing's really changing with regards to the issues that the homeowners in both those areas are having. I guess we're just looking tonight to see what we have to do to continue to have our requests dealt with, or if not, at least have a decision and the rationale why we are or can't do anything.
It's my understanding that the walking paths were situated where they were to drive traffic to where Cudmore is right now, because that was going to be a school. Obviously, that's not a school, and so I think it was determining the value of having those walking paths, and so I don't know really where that ended up.
I can actually respond to that too.
Okay, thank you.
We did take that into consideration. What we did is we created a policy, and I will say it right now, the ball was dropped, no one contacted. I know it was just a verbal conversation with the odd one of you, but you should have been provided with a copy of the actual policy. Council today agreed to waive a fee. We're changing the way we do it. We need to have someone that's interested in looking after that little piece if it's closed. So there is a fairly lengthy policy on it. I don't know who the spokesperson is, that, like, in particular, if it's yourself.
Well, I mean, I did hear about something about a couple of weeks ago, and actually I did get a document, I think, from Alan, and I guess we're looking for is, do we need to fill that out now?
Yes.
Because we provided all that information before. And I guess, is it really going to get dealt with, though? Because I don't want to fill out a bunch of paperwork again, guys, because we've been down this road so many times. If there's really some chances that it's going to happen, we'll put the work into it again, but I don't want to just do it for the sake of doing it.
I believe council today, like moving forward, there will be a fee attached to that, and council agreed to waive that fee.
Okay, so
it's a matter of filling out the application.
If we put the paperwork in, then what's the process after that?
We follow exactly what's in the policy.
So what, could you just, I never read that.
That's, I guess what most of it is well,
I didn't, I just got it from him, and I was told by somebody else that we just have to come here and bring it up because we didn't have to do anything, so if I realized that I had to, so anyways, I'll fill out the paperwork, but if you could just highlight for me.
What a lot of it is basically, and that's why we encourage people to make their complaints when there is problems in the back lanes, because that also forms part of it, any kind of calls that come for that area, and it shows problem areas. That's why it's very important when there is an issue for people to contact the RCMP. That helps us with stats, so that we can say, yes, this is a problem area, not just because you don't want anybody there. So there is information in there. If you want, I'll be more than happy to sit down with you this week and
go through it. And then typically, how long does it take to be dealt with after it's filled out?
It'll just be a matter of gathering the information and the stats for it. Okay. So I would hope that, by the summer, like, this should be addressed.
Okay.
And if there's any questions, like, there's contact information on there.
But I mean, okay, yeah, no, that's fine, perfect, thanks.
Loving the paperwork. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Have you looked at our, I believe it's our minutes of December 11th, 2017, with regard to the policy and reviewed that?
No, actually, Brian, what I did was told the last time I came to a meeting that somebody was going to contact me after Sam would go to Winnipeg or check with other communities to see how they dealt with, and I never heard anything. In the wintertime, we typically don't have a problem there, but when it comes spring and the traffic starts traveling through there again, that's when we're having problems. So in the last couple of weeks, I've heard from our neighbors there's been 4 serious incidents in our area already, and mainly because of the traffic is hidden behind it. So, no, I haven't read your policy and I haven't listened to your minutes. I was waiting for feedback from you.
I suggest you read the policy because,
No, I will.
as I recall, there's a process there, and it's
Yep.
there's a cost factor to it, and
Yep, I appreciate
it's going to
that.
take a neighborhood discussion, I believe, to.
I think we already had the neighborhood discussion.
Oh, but not based on the policy because you haven't read it yet.
Perfect.
Andrew?
So I just want to make sure that I voice my opinion on this. What I want to make sure we don't do is move the goalposts on these guys. So they have been here early on in this process and come with a problem and asked that we address it. It came with lots of evidence to support that there's an issue there. Came with alternatives that could be solutions to the problem. We decided that it would make sense to develop a policy and a procedure with respect to these kinds of issues, and I think that makes sense. I think what we've developed makes sense, but I think to me, it feels unfair then to create that and say, okay, you guys go back to the start now and see if you can run the gamut here and get to the end. That's, in my mind, that's moving the goalposts. So from where I stand anyway, these folks have triggered for us a great opportunity to develop something that's appropriate to address their concern. In my opinion, it's wrong to send them back to the start to address that concern. That's where I wanted to make sure I voiced my opinion about that. We said we would let them know when we got the policies and procedures developed so that we could find a way to get through this, and we're going to do that. Andre and his group will get a chance to see those things. But Brian, if what you're suggesting is that, well, that's changed now, so you guys got to go back to the start and come forward, I'm going to respectfully disagree with that position. That's not one that I would take and one that I would argue against. When it's an agenda item for committee of the whole here coming up. So.
What he said.
Well, okay, I'm confused now. We have a policy here. There's a $500 fee for closure that we reference in the policy. You need to work together and be willing to purchase the land that the walking path is on, and there's a variety of things there. So,
well, we think we've done all that already, Brian. I think we made a commitment that we'd buy the land. We made a commitment by getting a community survey to say that in our area that everybody that was affected that would agree that this is what we want to do. I think we've done that type of work already. I mean, we can go and do it again, but it's, I mean, I get it, I guess, if it's politics, but I think we've done all that and we can put the effort in to do it all over again. But if we're sitting here again in September and saying, well, I don't know, you guys, you know, it's just, we don't, like, we got to do something different here.
So you made a proposal based on the policy?
No, they made the proposal before the policy even became a thing.
And we provided that information you just asked me, we already provided that once, and we could do it again, if that's what you need.
All the policy does is gives us the guideline and the rules for applying what your intentions
So
to
do you remember the information that I provided the last time?
So,
because I gave you a survey that all of our people had agreed. We gave you all the evidence showing you all the damage, outlining all the incidents. We provided you specific facts of what was going on there. We provided you solutions on maybe let's try something as a trial, whether you do it full-time, part-time, however long you want to do it, let's just try to do something different. We gave you the actual proposal that we would purchase the land from you if that's what you ended up becoming a permanent. We left the meeting saying that, yeah, that sounds like a great idea and we should do it as a trial. That's what we heard. Then about a week or two after, we heard that we were going to go and check with other communities to decide whether it made sense or not and how they handled it. And then we didn't hear back until I got a policy, which I apologize, I should have read it, but a couple weeks ago from Councillor Gibb, because I asked him, what's going on with that?
oh, okay, so
I will read the policy again, but I don't know why I would have to go and do all that legwork all over again. If we've already, if you go and look at your guideline, is there something that we're missing out of there that we didn't provide the last time?
Off the top of my head, I can't say one way or the other, but now that we know where the information comes from, we just have to marry it up and make sure it comes forward.
So we have to present all that information like once again, or?
It doesn't, sorry if I
Yeah,
misspeak, it doesn't come back to council, it's a policy.
No.
A lot of the information that you've already provided is just writing who's gonna be responsible, who's gonna be the one that's gonna be purchasing that property, that's just the stuff.
Okay.
The information you presented actually helped create the policy.
It fell through the cracks, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We'll get it
that it did.
cemented over and bring it back up to the surface.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Great. Okay,
Thank you.
we're on a roll. Who's next?
Everybody,
Name and address for the record.
my name is Jordan Cross. Crystal's my wife. Is that conflict of interest?
Yeah.
She has to leave, eh?
You have to leave.
No, she
Oh, no,
shouldn't. Okay, so I'm here to talk about homelessness. Homelessness from my perspective, homelessness from what I think, where I sit, what could possibly be done to look at some ideas, some outside the box ideas as I like to frame them. I heard Mr. Hopper up here and he has far more experience than me. He's way smarter than me and all that kind of stuff. I'm only bringing it from my perspective. I don't have tons of years of experience working hand in hand with these people. I don't belong to boards such as some of you guys do and things like that. But here I go anyways. So I was sitting, getting my hair cut at a hair shop on Fisher Avenue. This was last Thursday. And the day before, everybody was excited in town because a new business had just opened up across the street. Finally, women in town have a place to go and buy some nice clothes, you know, for some Giant Tiger, Extra Foods, whatever. So it's about 9:30, the shop opens up at 10 o'clock. By 9:45, the entire front area of that store is filled with people. Not people excited that there's a new store open in town, dying to get into the doors. People with simply nowhere better to be. So the store had only been open for 2 days. So for 2 days ago, these people opened the door. And for probably what I can only imagine is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I don't know, I've never opened up a store. I don't know how much work it takes, but I'm sure that they put a lot of work into it, making sure that the storefront looked nice, the inside looked nice and everything. So after all that work, after only 2 days of being open, they have to now go outside and feel the need to get people out of their storefront because they're open for business, they need people to come in for business. While I'm sitting there, while I'm sort of watching this happen, I hear a story. My hairdresser tells me, you know what, same thing happened to me in front of my store. People felt unsafe to come into my store. They didn't want to come in here, they didn't want to get their hair cut. So I went out there, I told them to leave. Now, my hairdresser, she's probably 120 pounds, maybe 5'9". They weren't scared of her. They weren't leaving, they didn't do anything. She tried to yell, she tried to raise her voice, nothing happened. So, luckily, somebody at a business down the road came on out and did the duty of making sure that they were dispersed. And did a good job of it. Now, the one thing that I take away from that is that the business owner went outside in front of her own property and told these people to leave. And not only did they not leave, but they took a step towards her. Okay, right? Now, on my homeowner side, I have my own experience. Here I am, I live on Settee Avenue, Settee and Scott. Not a very popular street, not a lot of people know where it is, but basically right where my house is, if you go down Scott, it leads you right to the train tracks. Right along the train tracks, there's a train station. You can basically walk out my backyard, take a look, and you can always see people hanging out there doing whatever. That doesn't bother me. I don't run the train station. I don't care if they hang out there. What does bother me is they come over and they leave things in my garbage stand. As you know, we all have these little garbage stands in our back lane. So they come around, they take their empties, and they put their empties in my garbage stand, okay? Now, sure, fine, no big deal. But what happens? They don't close the garbage stand properly. What happens? The wind gets a hold of the door, the wind rips the door off, my door's off. Then what happens? Our other residents, the local dogs will come, and they'll all go through and they'll find something to eat in my garbage. So now I get to go outside, and before I even have a chance to fix my garbage stand, I got to clean up all the garbage. Okay? So that's probably happened 3-4 times this year already. Like, I'm talking since the winter time. But as of right now, this is all a me problem. This has really nothing to do with you guys. I'm not expecting you guys to come out, clean my garbage, fix my garbage stand. That's not what I'm asking you guys to do. So yesterday, I'm fixing my problem for the 4th time this year. I let my wife sleep in. It's Mother's Day, to give her the break off. And what do you know? This guy comes around the corner, and I'm standing there literally with the screwdriver in my hand, struggling to put this door on again. And he says, "Where's my empties?" He said, did they take them? And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Yeah, I stashed my empties in there. Did they take them?" And I said, "No, I took them." I said, "I took your empties, and I'll take your empties again the next time you put them in there, and you tell your friends that if their empties are in my garbage can, I'm taking them." So what did he do? He took a step towards me. He wasn't scared. He didn't care. He says, "Do you know who you're talking to?" Well, no, I didn't know who I was talking to. Didn't really care. This is my garbage stand. This is my property. So now I'm faced with a bit of a decision right here. Imagine that. Here I am in my own back lane, standing there fixing my own garbage stand for the 4th time this year. And one of the people, I don't know if it's him necessarily, whatever, he's standing there saying, "Do you know who I am?" Okay, now I'm a pretty calm, pretty chill person. But I am from the North End in Winnipeg. That's where I grew up. When somebody takes a step to you on your own property and challenges you, you have 2 choices. You can step back, say, "Okay, sorry, whatever," or you can take a step forward. So I took a step forward, and I said, "No, this is my property," okay? So again, none of that is your problem, right? But here's where it might be your problem. One of these days, that guy, or somebody just like him, is going to be walking down a back lane. And he's going to come across somebody just like me, somebody who's angry, frustrated, had enough of, just saying, "Oh, there's people and they have problems and this and that, the other thing, blah, 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 blah." Okay. So then the guy's going to take a step towards me, and I'm not going to back down. Somebody, maybe not me, maybe somebody else, what if they hit him? What if that guy hits that homeowner? What if that sort of thing starts to happen? Because I've already seen it now. They're not scared of the business owners down on Fisher Avenue. They're not scared of the homeowners on Settee Avenue. So what's left? Okay. Where's my notes? So here's where we're at in this situation, and we already had Mr. Hopper up here talking about, he's trying to really do good things for people, trying to give them a place to stay, a future, and what do we hear? There's no money, right? What did Andrew say? There's 20 things before homelessness on the budget. So that means homelessness is at least 21st in importance. And when it comes to the town budget, there's 20 things at least, and then there's homelessness, maybe things before that. And he said for at least 7 years, they've been trying to, I can't remember the analogy he used. What I wrote here was, they're trying to cut the same pie. You guys have the same pie. Here's your pie, here's your budget. You have this much, this slice is for roads, this slice is for homelessness, all that kind of stuff. The pie doesn't get any bigger. You keep scooping the crumbs on there, keep trying to keep the crumbs, but it doesn't change anything. The pie gets smaller. The pie gets smaller, right? Okay, so the pie gets smaller. So now, here's where probably, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 30, I can just see you guys looking at me like everybody's come to you with this exact same similar problem. Well, I don't know if they had any solutions. I have some solutions. I have maybe not direct solutions, but ideas that can lead to solutions. One thing that seems to be talked about is money. We have no money. We have no money. We can't do anything because we have no money. I don't understand how having an extra $100,000 to put towards homelessness would have stopped that guy from stashing empties in my garbage bin and stopped him from my door swinging off it. Do I think $50,000 would have helped? $100,000? $200,000? Nah, probably wouldn't have made a difference. That has nothing really to do with money. The money is leading towards the resources. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. Is that nobody seems to be doing anything to help us at the higher level. We have our pie. We can cut that pie however many different ways. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. We need help, right? I mentioned my wife's a counselor. I'm sure you guys are probably really smart, or no, not probably, you guys are really smart people. You guys have done some work to push and get some money. I know that. I'm not going to say, oh, well, just go ask them for some more money, and I'm sure they're just going to, just hand you more money. So let's try the opposite of that, right? I think of things like, when I was a kid, my dad rented. He always rented. We always lived in rental houses. There would be lots of times when you need to get the sink fixed. Need to get the sink fixed, need to get the sink fixed. Guess what? The landlord had no money to get the sink fixed. So rent was $750. What did my dad do when rent was due? Gave the landlord a check for $75. Said I need to use the rest of the money to fix the sink. So guess what happened? Sink got fixed. And then the landlord came, then he got the rest of his money. So from that analogy, I wonder, I don't know specifically any specific area, but can we play the same game? Do we have to give somebody money? Maybe if we don't give them what they want, and they say, why aren't you giving it to us? And we say, well, we can't get what we want, we don't give you what you want, right? Maybe not the best way to go about things, maybe not the most friendly, but I think, in a way, maybe more effective than emails and phone calls and, hey, Miss Ashton, hey, Miss Lathland, can we please have some more money to fix our problems, pretty please, if you don't mind, with sugar on top. It's not going to work. So the other analogy, or the other situation I have, again, I don't have specifics, like I don't say, hold this, but just the idea of raising some noise, making some people have to look at things, right? Like, what can we do? What can we do? Does it take the people? Should we not be in this room? Should there be 100 of us outside the MLA office standing there saying, we want this problem fixed and you have to do something about it? Maybe people are being too harsh on you guys. It's not you guys that can fix it. It's up to them. But whatever we need to do, we need to think of something, right? What happens here? We had the Gateway Hotel. The Gateway Hotel was here for 100 years. For 100 years, people could come from any community in this province, come here, and they would have a place to stay. Well, guess what, guys? A year ago, the Gateway burned down. We don't have the rooms to hold people anymore. Why are the same communities sending the same amount of people when we don't have the same amount of space? Can somebody send a letter and say, hey, guys, we don't have that hotel anymore. The people who you're sending here are living in the streets and sleeping in the streets while they're here. We don't think that's good for them. We don't think that's good for us. Can we not, maybe not talking to the community? If they don't want to listen, maybe talk to the train station. You say, you know what, Via Rail, you want to bring all these people in here with no place to stay? They can stay here. They can stay at the train station. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. And it's gonna piss people off. Like, you guys are gonna get all kinds of letters and somebody mentioned, well, that's human rights violations. And I ask, who is caring about these people's human rights if they're sleeping on our frickin' streets?
Thank you.
I thought that was a rhetorical question, sorry.
Yeah, it kind of was. It's just a good spot to end it on.
Were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so I have some good news for you. I'm in the process of, I have developed, I'm not going to say a committee, a group of people, and I will not give their names on air, so to speak, but we are going to be meeting very soon. I've been working on this for probably the last 8 to 9 months. And this is what we are wanting to do, is put our heads together. There are people that, I'm going to say they're not in the chairs right now to fix the problems, but they're very passionate and they have great ideas, and they're going to be totally, and they are totally different than what has been used before. I agree on your anguish with the safety issue. I won't get into things, but that's been 3 times already. I'm kind of done. And I know the person who you're talking about. And yeah, it was quite discouraging. But I'm feeling very positive about our little group, and I hope to be able to share it with everybody soon. I just don't want to put the cart before the horse. Like I said, I've been working on this for a long time, and it's not a council thing. It's, you know what, maybe it's a business thing, but it's actually for everybody in the paw. Because I believe everybody needs to be safe. Not just me, not just you, the person that is walking through the back alleys and hopefully I don't find one in the morning when I come to work. Everybody needs to be safe. And I have made some points, and hopefully I can, with your permission, I can use that.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I don't want to come off as you guys are, please don't take it as an insult or that I think you guys haven't done anything or don't care about this issue. Of course, I realize that, it's not, like, it's the pie thing, right? Like, you guys only have so much to work with, there's only so much you can do, and, like, there's 20 more important things. Like, I wasn't saying that to say that, like you didn't think it was important. I really believe that there are 20 more important things that need to be addressed before this sort of gets, yeah.
Anybody else? Brian?
Hi, Jordan. Thank you for that, sharing your story, and that it's quite enlightening. I guess my question is, because when it comes to the town, we raise money by taxes, so how much more in taxes would you be willing to pay to solve some of these problems?
Well, and that's my whole idea, is that there's maybe some things that don't require money, or maybe some things we can do on the cheap that can help solve the problem in a more effective manner than just paying money. What I'm saying is I don't necessarily know how much money we need to fix the problem, and I don't even know if money will be the right solution to the problem. Of course, money can help any solution, or any problem, of course, but it's a much bigger issue is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll take it as a no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there has to be other ways we can go about this other than just, okay, let's raise taxes, or, like let's really get in there, let's really do some, I don't know. Look at all the stuff that happens all over with protesting and all that kind of stuff. Not that I'm a protester by any means, but we have to get out there and make some noise. People, nobody's gonna care, right? And people become tone deaf to you guys because you guys are constantly asking for things. You're constantly asking them for stuff. You're constantly making it out to be. You're trying to sell these issues, and eventually people become tone deaf to the salesmanship. And maybe it needs to be us. Maybe I shouldn't be in here talking to you guys. Maybe I should be out in front of Amanda Lathland's MLA office or whatever. But thank you for your time.
Anybody else before you take off? Okay, good. Thanks, Jordan.
Go home, watch hockey again.
Yeah, you do that.
Let the record show that Andrew was the one who interrupted him.
David, you wanted? Nope. Okay, good. All right. Anybody else?
Say something?
Sure, absolutely.
Adding to Jordan's thing, I work in the justice system, and I've seen these people on the justice side of the system.
Can I just, I don't want to interrupt, but just need your name and your address.
My name is Paul Pilippo, 228 Head Avenue. I deal with these guys on a regular basis. I've talked to them when they're sober and drunk. The other day, I know the usuals because in the justice system we see them. I've talked to them. They have been asked them, where are you guys from? Norway House or Oxford House or Churchill even was the furthest one I heard from. Why are you here? Well, we went to Thompson. We got kicked out of Thompson by the city of Thompson. They got a ban on them. Why can't we do something like that? Because Easterville does it. Grand Rapids does it. I've heard rumors Flin Flon does it, and Thompson's has done it. I know it's coming across as we're moving the point. It's okay, give them second chance here. Oh, you want to try again? Okay, come here, second chance. 3 strikes, 2 strikes. If you're causing a violent disturbance against another homeless person or street persons, you want to call them street local. Okay, that's the difference. Say if you're wrecking property, that's a strike. Another strike, okay, here's a bus ticket, go to the next community. I understand it's passing the buck. So they had their second chance here, they ruined it for themselves. So why ruin it for the other ones? Because there's a few of them here that I know that have been here for a long time. They're kind of harmless. They look weird. They look different. They kind of harmless looking. They won't hurt a fly on the wall. So then you got ones from out of the community that haven't been here forever or not as long that are causing disturbance. Last Friday, we parked in the West Oban, me and my girlfriend. She came around that fence because we went to the liquor mart to get a case of beer. Came around the fence. They saw her first. They didn't even see me yet. 5 of them started coming towards her, and they're saying, get her, Leonard, never recognized any of those before. I've even asked a few of the ones I've recognized from town that I've talked to, even in the justice system, they don't even know where they're from. And these are younger guys who are obviously showing more violence. So what does it take? Them to hurt someone else? Another civilian? A kid? I've heard guys I work with are attempting to beat the shit out of them, and these are other Manitoba Justice members. They're going threatened because they go up to their wives or with their young kids at Extra Foods parking lot or any other parking lot trying to get money off them, and they say no. Well, then they get violent. And those aren't even the ones that are locally from here. Those are ones from out of town. So why are we, everyone's throwing the buck to us, so why are we dealing with the buck? Why can't we pass the buck on like everyone else is doing to us? We gave them a second chance, a third chance maybe. Why can't we kick them out like everyone else? They get second chances in Thompson, third chance in Thompson, and they get passed out here, because that's where the train stops next. So why are we the garbage bag to say? Cleaning up after Thompson's mess. And we all know how Thompson is compared to us. We're way better looking than Thompson with the problems they deal with. So if Thompson, who's worse than us, is passing their problems to us, why are we dealing with it? Why can't we do something else? Like, what have you guys honestly thought of to take care of this homeless problem? Not like Oxford, or, sorry, I can't remember the names of the two organizations. So what's preventing them from, like, a deterrent? Nothing. Oh, I can't go stay at this house. Oh, well, it's summertime, right? Well, I'll go live outside for a while. They'll forget about it, and I'll be back in winter. What kind of deterrent is the town of the Paw putting up against these non-community members that don't pay tax, that don't pay for anything? How many times have they come into this building and wrecked the washroom? Public buildings wreck the washrooms. What deterrent are we throwing up as a community for the homeless population, or not even the homeless, the members who are not doing anything for society? Like, I understand I threw you guys under the bus, and I'm kind of going on the other side of this, so.
There's obviously frustration in your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Crystal?
So if I could, this isn't going to be an answer that you want to hear, but I think the biggest problem is that we look at homelessness the wrong way. Like, first of all, these are still people, and they're still human beings. Sorry, if I may, though. And the issue actually isn't homelessness, it's addictions and mental health. And I would bet that 95% of the issue is actually mental health and addictions. So here's the thing, sorry, if I could.
Just let her have her piece.
Yeah,
okay?
So if I could, so addictions and mental health are actually a healthcare issue. Addictions and mental health are listed as a medical condition. So if somebody has diabetes and they choose to not live a healthy lifestyle that's conducive to somebody with diabetes, if they eat a lot of sugar and high fats and they don't take care of themselves and they wind up in the hospital in diabetic shock and they need treatment and medical attention, we don't turn them away. We don't go up to people who are diabetic on the street and take away the chocolate bar from them or judge them when they're in the supermarket or going through McDonald's drive-thru or whatever. We don't do that as a society because we view diabetes as an illness. And I think that if people start to view homelessness as the actual illness that it is, it's not homelessness. It's mental illness and addictions, which is an actual mental or medical condition. It's a medical illness. And as society, we don't treat it as that. So again, if you go back to the person with diabetes, so again, they don't take care of themselves, things progress. You know, they need insulin, they need amputation, they need home care services. As a society, as a province, as a country, we provide them all of that care. We prioritize that. If somebody goes to the hospital because they're in diabetic shock, we don't say to them, you need to go and get your blood sugar in check and come back when it's in check. Or, sure, we can find a place for you to go, but again, you need to go and get your blood sugar in check and come back. We don't do that to people because, again, we look at that as the illness that it is and we treat it as the illness that it is. So while we might be able to pass the buck, I don't think that we should. I think that we should show some innovation and some leadership
and help people, if we are the place that it happens in Manitoba, but help people really start to view this issue for what it is and start to treat it as the medical condition that it actually is. Like, it's a healthcare issue, and the healthcare system, in my opinion, needs to step up and start to help us to deal with it, because we don't have the resources to deal with it. No place really has the resources in the province, the proper adequate resources to deal with, and somebody needs to have the resources, and it needs to start somewhere. So that's my kind of spin on it. Like, is it fair that we as the Paw Manitoba have to deal with such a huge issue that doesn't stem from all of our residents who are or are not taxpayers? No, it's not fair. But like, again, at the end of the day, they're human beings, and if people were coming here for dialysis or chemo treatment or whatever, we wouldn't turn them away. We don't tell those people that they can't come here. We, pass variations for receiving homes so that they have a place to stay when they come here. And in my opinion, we should be taking that same approach to this whole issue of homelessness, because at the end of the day, you can give people a house and a place to stay, and it's not going to fix the issue. We need to start battling the real problem.
So that problem is the addictions, right? I understand some people are addicted to things and that. So what deterrent do you have? Oh, I'm just going to pull this. I snorted a gram of Coke and drank 3 bottles of XXX. Oh, I'll just go there and do this. And all this stuff was given to me. Like, I understand the town's doing, giving them a home to stay, the soup kitchen and that. So what's preventing them from not being violent? It's not that the fact that they're here, they have issues, we understand. But it's the violence from those issues. Okay, what deterrent do we have as a community to keep them from having the violence shown towards other community members who pay tax, businesses that pay tax, businesses that bring revenue into the town, and like tourists? I have friends that come from Alberta. Their girlfriends came to town. They drove through town, and they got harassed by homeless, just an umbrella as a homeless, addictions and all this. So as a community members, you guys are supposed to be doing, looking forward to the community, right? Well, what are you guys doing as a council to show that we're having a deterrent to the homeless population, just use that as a general term, deterrent from not being violent, and trying to help them move forward? Because you guys just canceled that. That would have been, in my mind, a little bit of a priority, because it does help. I've seen it help. So now what? That's going to be gone. So what's left to show helping out? We have nothing left to help out now, because that's gone. How much longer before the homeless, the housing we're giving them, is going to be going down too? What's the program called again? Oscar's Place. How much longer before Oscar's Place gets shut down? And then there'll be nothing, and we still have the same population or the same issue. Because we have these programs already set up, so we're not showing we're not having a backbone to go with it. We're just letting them do whatever they want with the programs. And now we lost the program. How much longer before the other program disappears? And then what?
Because I'm sorry to cut you off again.
That's okay.
So we still have one program. Why don't you guys start thinking some other outside the box thinking? Because apparently inside the box is causing a program to shut down. Another one's probably going to be on its way in 10 years, give or take. Then what? You guys got to think of something to deter them from being violent. And why are we, you got to have some kind of, to show deterrence. And think of it ahead instead of waiting or it hits you in the face and then try and think of it. You can see the punch coming from a mile away. Why not think of it a mile away instead of when it's already broken your nose and a busted lip?
Again, Margaret.
No. Okay, no, it's okay.
No, go ahead if you want to answer.
Again, with that the group that I've had, I hope I will have some answers with you.
Oh yeah, I understand.
I really hope,
answers right now, so it's just something you guys got to think about. We have no backbone as a community. What deterrents do we have to keep people from not acting violent? I know people from the States that come up hunting with me, and they've been around
the country, and they said they've never seen this much problems of the locals, or we should say, or whatever you want to call them, as a homeless population, whatever term you guys use, as in the pod. And
The term is travelers.
Travelers, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. The travelers.
Yeah.
And I said, like, these are guys I've known, and I've seen these guys. I said, out of those, say 100 travelers we have, only 10 of them are actually been in this community longer than 2 years and don't cause violence. All the others aren't from the community, and they're the ones causing the graffiti, the crapping in public bathrooms, smearing it all over. Like, did that happen at Chasey Ace? Did that happen here at town office years ago, before they started locking the door and not allowing? See, that's what you guys did. You deterred them by locking the door. Do they still hang out? Yes. Do they still crap in your bathroom, smeared all over? No. See, you guys showed a backbone. Now, expand that to the whole community. Do we have a backbone as a community to keep the travelers at bay? No. Or if there is, why doesn't the whole community know?
Gary?
Just a suggestion to council. I know we've met with the RCMP talking about the Intoxicated Persons Act and the arresting them when they're doing that. Something you might want to do is talk to the Crowns, prosecutors, and when individuals are arrested, in conjunction with the police arresting them for a violent incident, whether it's an assault like he's speaking of amongst each other, or doing something against a town bylaw in that area, like, you know, using the bathroom in the main street and all that kind of, arrest them, take them in. The town doesn't have the luxury as a chief and council. You can't do a BCR, you can't do a ban council resolution that bans them from the town. But you can, the judge can put a recog on an individual, depending on the nature of the crime, that he can't reside in the town of Paul. That can be done. And if he comes in, if he's on recog, he breaches, he gets arrested, put in jail. So I think the Crown would be somebody they would have to push it, because they might look at, well, it's nothing, but once the word gets out and people are found and the judges, if the judge's ear on it, could be a solution to someone.
And on Gary's note, I have seen that done here in the pod by the judges in town. And that's on non-travelers who have been not allowed to reside in 50 kilometers area of the pod and RM of Kelsey. So why can't we do that with the travelers?
I'm absolutely up for anything. You know, I don't want to, we could be here till midnight, because I'm hugely frustrated. There's no accountability. Do what you want. You're not held accountable for anything. They have scared a lot of people in our community. You can call them travelers if you want. I call them thugs. They push people around. They want their way. They want to take your money. And I just have zero patience for this. I have gone to the RCMP, I'm not kidding, a couple of dozen times since I've been mayor, and many more times before that. And they come right out and tell you they're too busy. If there's a crime that's been committed, they want you to call the police. And it may take them 20 minutes or half an hour to come, but they will come.
And like me, I know a lot of RCMP members in this community. I have family members that are outside the community, like in Northwest Territories, down in Winnipeg. I have also known RCMP members in Puckawagan, Easterville, Grand Rapids, Flin Flon. And they all say they're short-staffed. I understand that point of it. So, still, what are you going to do? Wait till they start killing?
No,
wait, it's done. Like,
yeah, for me personally, the pendulum has swung too far.
Yeah.
And so there's just zero accountability. There's no respect for a community's budget, for its financial situation. It's just a huge mess. And so you know, we have done, I think, as a council, all that we can do legally. I cannot say, you know what, I don't like you. You need to get out of town. I can't do that.
Well, like, I know that, like, as a community, you can't do that. So why can't you guys put ask the Crowns? There's 3 of them in town. I can give you their names.
No, I know them.
And do what, like, Gary Hopper suggested. Why can't we start, like, slowly enforcing it? So it's like we're doing something. We're trying to move forward with it.
Probably best I just stop there.
Yeah, I'm done there too, so.
Yeah. Okay.
4-0 for the Jets. Just getting 0-0.
Oh, Gary. Okay, thanks.